I guess what I've learned and what I've realized is that God has a plan for everybody, and but it's up to us to kind of to see that. And whenever I think about where I've been and what I've done, I think that where it all began for me, and it goes way back. The time I was in elementary, I think there was this old couple that I grew up in Lubbock. I lived on the same street my whole life. And there was this old couple that would go door to door, and they would invite all the kids to a Bible study every every summer, like for 1 week. And we didn't have anything like internet or man, we barely had cable. All we did out was just hang around outside and ride our bikes, climb trees, fight with each other, make clubhouses, stuff that you don't see kids do a whole lot anymore. And so when these people came by and invited us to their Bible study, they're like, hey, there's going to be some punch and cookies there, and you guys come, and we're like, yes, that was great. We and the world wasn't really paranoid about sending us to some old couple's house because nothing you never really heard about anything bad happening. So my parents were okay with me going, and my friends were okay. But we all went, and we went every summer, and then sometime I don't even know when it was. I don't even remember their names. I don't remember how old I was. I might have been 9 or 10. But it was the same thing every summer. We kind of realized they talked to us about Jesus and how he came and how he was crucified and how he gave his life for us. And they asked us, if we wanted to be saved and accept Jesus into our lives. And I'll admit, the first couple times I went, I was just there for the punch and the cookies. I think everybody was. But one of those times they really spoke to me, and I got saved. I might have been about, like I said, about 9 or 10, and that was the first time I felt the presence of God. You kind of get overwhelmed. You feel different. You feel kind of sad and happy at the same time. That happened, and we kept going. All my friends, we looked forward to it. When school was out, we knew that they were going to have Bible study, so we we kept going. And then I don't know, sometime later, I guess the lady of the couple, she passed away, and the man, he still he still came around, but he didn't do the Bible studies anymore. We saw him walking, some evenings he'd walk around, but we kind of just we kind of stopped. My parents took me to church, and I went to church. My parents were Catholic, so I still went to church, and I never paid attention. I mean, I'll be honest. I just remember church as being a bunch of mariachi music and a bunch of kneeling and standing, and maybe every now and then you get to eat bread and drink wine, and that was it. There wasn't. I didn't make a connection at church, not as a kid, and so the only connection I had was this old couple that would do the Bible studies, and when that stopped, well, I got a little bit older, and things took a turn. I got into junior high, and for whatever reason, I went through probably the toughest years in junior high and high school that kind of affected the rest of my adult life. I was overweight. I put on a bunch of weight. I kind of doubled my weight. I got up to about 200, over 200 pounds, and I was still like 4 feet tall. But and that kind of affected my social life. I really didn't go out, didn't have a whole lot of friends in junior high, and I started playing guitar. My parents got me a guitar for my 14th birthday, so I spent all my time at home playing guitar, not going anywhere, not doing anything. And I spent a lot of time playing the guitar. By the time I was 15, I'd gotten really good at it. I could play whatever I heard. I just got so used to the sound that I could play by ear. And so I I started trying out for different bands. I was, and they said, "Oh man, you could really play. You're pretty good, but you're not exactly what we're looking for, man. You don't look like a rocker. You don't look like a guitar player. You need to lose some weight. You're too fat." Basically, is what they said, and I took it the wrong way. I mean, some people might have been motivated to lose weight or whatever, but man, that kind of hit me where it made things it hindered me. For the next few years, I decided, man, I I just kind of went into my own little shell, and I kind of searched for an identity, and started looking for friends, and I found that the only friends that would even, talk to me or hang out with me were the other outcasts, the other rejects, the other misfits, the other people that weren't accepted. Those are the only ones that would kind of give me any time. So, and there was a lot of different people there, but a lot of them used drugs, and that's where I kind of searched. That's where I got my identity from. Is I started getting high. I started, just like, hey, well, these people accept me. These people, they know what it's like, or you know, I feel at home. It became my home, and I was just searching for something. So drugs just then became my identity, and so then being overweight and kind of not having a whole lot of going on socially, drugs kind of gave me that comfort. Music gave me that comfort, gave me what I was looking for. Um, you know, God had touched me when I was a kid, but I turned away and I didn't seek Him. And there was nobody there really. My parents tried, but it wasn't their fault. I wasn't taking the messages that were given at church. There was nobody there really pushing me in a direction to have a Christian life. So I found what I was looking for in drugs, and that's what happened. I came to I got in trouble. I started drinking and getting high every weekend, every chance I got. And I got into some trouble with my parents. Me and my dad stopped getting along, and I got uh, some trouble with the law. And my dad was at a point where, like, he was just gonna give up. He was like, man, this isn't getting any better. They knew I was doing drugs. They knew I was getting drunk. They knew things like that were happening, and he was ready to get me out. He didn't want to. He couldn't deal with it. I had two older sisters, and they didn't do anything like that. They didn't make those kinds of mistakes. So he was kind of, I guess, at a loss of what to do. And my aunt, her name's Lupe Barrera. She lives here in Spur. At the time, her name was Lupe Benavides. She's my mom's sister. Anyway, she offered me a place to live. She said, "Hey, Spur's what he needs. He needs to get away from those people he's hanging out with. He needs to come over here. It's a small town. People will keep an eye on him. He'll do better in school." I was flunking. I was a sophomore, and I think I made like a 30 was like my highest grade. I didn't do anything. I was just wasting away. Anyway, so I moved to Spur, and that's where I met a lot of the people that I see today. That's where I made friends. That's where I kind of got out of that little shell I was in. But but the drugs was such a part of my identity by that time that I carried that with me, and I portrayed that image to people here. And I was still cool with everybody, still talked to everyone, still got along. They knew I think might have been the one of three guitar players that lived in the whole city, and I know I was the youngest. The rest of them were probably 3 or 4 times my age at the time. So the kids accepted me because they didn't see, like, man, this kid can play guitar. And so I kind of got a reputation for a guitar player, even though I had a reputation also for like a stoner, I guess. But people accepted me, and I made a lot of connections here. I met this girl that I had a crush on, and She didn't want to have anything to do with a reputation or a guy with a reputation like mine, but she comes in later. I mean, anyways, um, I moved back to Lubbock when I finished school. I moved back to Lubbock when I was 18, and I didn't go home. I lived on my own, kind of hung out with some friends. I kind of just bummed around, and I met a whole new circle of people that did drugs, like really heavy drugs, you know. Um, and I started doing cocaine, acid, mushrooms, just experimenting, trying to find anything I could find that would make me feel better or feel different at least. And well, I ended up getting married at 18, and my oldest son Zeppelin when I was 19. And I married another drug addict, so we didn't help each other. We just kind of kept each other in that same rut of just getting by. We had Zayla when I was 20, and even though we had our life with drugs, we always minimized the things we did by looking at other people that were worse than we were. So that kept us in that same place, and we ended up getting really off track. By the time Zeppelin and Zayla were 5 and 4, I had started using some really heavy drugs, some methamphetamines, and I had gotten up to probably like a $200 a day meth habit. Starting just casually using drugs, I had progressed to this demon of a drug that stole everything. It was 1999, and people thought, oh man, the world's going to come to the end at New Year's Eve. And, there was kind of that talk of the Y2K. Well, in the year 2000, the world did come to an end for me. My car got repossessed because I wasn't paying for it. I lost my job because I wasn't getting to work on time because I didn't have a car. And then something great happened. God kind of, I realized now that he had been there the whole time, keeping me from things getting worse, but I didn't pay attention to it. I didn't notice it. I didn't care to notice it. I was fine living the way that I was living. And just shortly after I lost my job, CPS came in and saved Zeppelin and Zayla from the mess that we were all in, and they put them to live with my parents. So, just a matter of a couple of months, I had gone from, this terrible habit every day to, I lost my car, my job, my kids. And then for some awkward reason, the apartment behind us caught on fire. And so our apartment complex had kind of, it was totaled. So we had to move. So here I went from having everything, job, kids, and a severe drug habit to having nothing. I had no car, no job, no kids. The marriage I was in fell apart because we blamed each other for what happened with the kids, and I ended up just homeless actually, and you know this is where God kind of he carried me through, and I learned the most. I think now looking back at it, I to go a few days, a few hours without electricity or water or food might not affect you, but to go a week, a few months, that really puts an impression in your head. I couldn't go to my parents. My kids were over there. I couldn't, you know, there was my friends that I'd done drugs with. They had kind of bailed on me too. I think some of them got busted, and the ones that didn't, they didn't want nothing to do with me because they knew what had happened, and they thought, man, he comes around, the CPS might start looking at our kids, or, you know, so everybody kind of closed the door on me, and so for a long time, I slept outside, slept inside buildings, and did what I did to eat, asked for money on the streets, borrowed money. And it wasn't until after a few months passed by, I finally got a job. rode the city bus, rode a bike. I stole a bike, actually, stole it. That's the only thing I've ever stolen. But I needed a transportation, and I stole the bike. So now you guys know that I stole the bike. Anyway, I stole the bike to get to work, and I slowly started to get things back together. I finally got a place. I worked at a convenience store, the graveyard shift. Nobody wanted to work there, so it was easy enough for me to find a job. And I got to work and got my place, an apartment, and then me and my ex-wife had reconciled. I guess she had saw that I was finally doing something. We agreed that we weren't going to do any of that heavy stuff, and that we were going to set our minds to getting Zeppelin and Zayla back. And we set up a goal that we were going to beat CPS. We were offended still. We're stubborn. I set my mind to it that, you know, I was going to get my kids back, and I was going to still get high because there's nothing wrong with getting high. I would just tell myself that, man, I'd rather be a pothead than an alcoholic, and I was just going to hold on to that. I had to hold on to something. I was being stubborn and immature, and I just decided I was going to do that. I was going to hold on to that drug, and I was going to get my kids back, and I was going to prove to everybody that I could, you know, function as a successful adult, still be a, you know, bill-paying citizen, have kids, and do all that, and I did. I did. We got Zeppelin and Zayla back, and I fooled myself. I held on to that. What I didn't see at the time is that the drugs affect you even when you're not high. They affect your decisions, the choices you make, your motivation, your drive. And I didn't see that. You know, I dodged all the UAs and got my kids back. And you know, 2002, you know, that was a tough time. In 2002, Zage was born, and I started to think, man, you know, I need to do something with my life. Even though I held on to the drugs and I had that in my back pocket, so to speak, I wanted to have goals. There was a part of me that still wanted to grow. So I went to college. I got an associate's degree in diesel service technology and started working as a mechanic, still getting high, still, you know, I still remember what it was like to be homeless, to be hungry. And so that made me appreciate a lot of things. To this day, I remember what it's like. But you know, I started to lose track and not be thankful. And as I started to get things back, as I started to get a car, as I started to get my family back, I started to think, I started to have this pride that I did this on my own, that I started taking credit for it. I started thinking, you know, I can do it. I started thinking, you know, I was, you know, somebody special that I did on my own, and forgot that God had a lot to do with pulling me through that. And because of my drug use, therefore, you know, it affected my thinking, my outlook, my view on the way things were, on the way society was. Anyways, you know, I started playing in bands and going out, playing at bars. I was playing guitar again, playing all the time, and ended up kind of, it worked out to actually where I was able to quit working as a mechanic and start my own business as a photographer. So I started doing that, and that was great, man. I was thinking to myself, man, you know, quite of an accomplishment. You didn't need nobody. Nobody helped you up. You came from having nothing to having this life where you can make your own hours, work your own hours, get high, play guitar. And I had no idea the things I was missing, the things I put my kids through. My oldest son, my daughter Zayla, and Zage as a baby, I was never there. Even when I was stoned, and that's not there. That's not being there. That's not. There's so many things I missed because of the choices I was making. Anyways, you know, we kept on going, and somehow um, my ex-wife, she had started using meth again, and I had no idea. Anyways, her father passed away unexpectedly, real early, under some strange circumstances, and it uh, it really affected her. She just, once that happened, she didn't want to be married. She didn't want to have nothing. She didn't want to have nothing to do with us, and I put that on the drug use. It affected her decisions. It made her give up. She gave up on us, and as soon as I found out she was doing that, I gave up on her. We just said, we're done. I thought, I didn't want a life with her. She didn't want a life with me. She didn't want a life with anyone. So I was kind of stuck. My kids, the three of them were, well, Zevon was born. That's right. Zevon was a baby. All four of them were with my parents. I was going through a divorce. I was playing 3 or 4 nights a week, getting drunk, getting high. Just I had started taking pictures of other bands, bikers. I kind of felt at home with the dirty crowd because they just didn't judge, and it was okay. They didn't care who you were, and so that's what I wanted. I wanted to be accepted, and they accepted me. Um, Started doing really good with my photography. Ended up being offered a couple of jobs, taking pictures of some bikers, some uh, bands, and actually even a local lingerie shop. And I thought, man, what guy wouldn't want this? A night, no kids, no wife, taking pictures of women in lingerie and doing drugs to different audience every night. But I didn't want that. I wanted a family. I wanted my family, and I had to make a choice. I had to make a choice to do something, and that's when it happened. God stepped in, and Lisa, my wife, found me on Facebook, and we started talking. And I invited her to one of the gigs I played at. So she came. She brought her brother Jason with me. I knew him. I knew them from when I lived here, and they came to see me. We started talking to each other. We started dating shortly after that. She invited me to church, Freedom Church. So I started coming to church, and I started realizing all the things that was going wrong, the choices I was making, the way the life that I was missing from my kids, the life I was going to choose to miss and keep missing if I were staying on the path I was on. And I didn't want that life for my kids or for myself. I had to make a choice: be selfish or do the right thing. And I started listening to the messages that the PK had, the messages that Roy had, our pastors, meeting the people that were part of this family: Big Roy, Gary, Willie, Ramon. All these. Some of them aren't here, but they're the people that I was coming in contact with. And I started to realize what church was. Church was a family. It wasn't one man. It was everybody. And that's what I wanted to be a part of. I had everything I needed to do that. The girl I had a crush on in high school asked me to marry her, you know, and that she gave me. God put her in my life so that I could have what I needed to get my family the way I needed to have it. God put Pastor Kevin in my life so he could say what I needed to hear. I was blessed with another little girl. We have a daughter that's about to be 2, and I saw God do these things for me, and I realized He was doing these things for me because I was seeking Him. Coming to church on Mondays and Wednesdays, that's really good. People do that, but I had to realize that I needed more than that. And it wasn't like 2 years ago. Me and PK started meeting every morning in the week, during the week. We started to get together, and we still do, for an hour a day. And it's not. I'm not getting something from PK, but just doing that, whether it's with PK or with anyone, but making the decision to seek God for 1 hour a day, to put everything else away, and seek get no matter how you want to. We started reading books. We started looking at chapters in the Bible. We went through the love dare. We've gone through different things. Sometimes more. Some mornings we just talk. You know, he doesn't. We were an ear for each other. You know, nobody has a perfect life, and nobody's perfect. We're all human. We all have these things that we struggle with. Even PK. And we're able to be there for each other. And like our men's group says, iron sharpens iron. You know, I think we all need that. I needed that. That's what's helped me grow, is making that touch, making that connection, seeking God the way I would seek drugs, the way I would get up every morning and think about, okay, how am I going to get high? How am I going to support this $200 a day meth habit? What am I going to do to get it? Well, I had to start realizing if I want to get blessed, if I want to be blessed, if I want to have God shine through me, then I have to seek it the same way that I would seek what's bad. You know, the more we do something, whether it's good or bad, the easier it gets. And it's not always easy to praise. I mean, I had surgery and I kind of feel a little under. I'm not 100% right now, but I'm here playing because I know that that's what I need to do to give back. When I think about all the things, I remind myself about all the things that God's done for me, that He's saved me, that He's put me through, that He's taken me through, and I'm still here. That I have, 5 beautiful children, 2 wonderful stepchildren, a wonderful wife, and it's not perfect, but it's mine, and I want to be the best husband, the best father, the best son, the best brother that I can be. And in order to do that, I have to have God in my life. And so I didn't read anything that I wrote down, but I know that just from experience that just because you go to church isn't going to be the answer to everything. You're still gonna have to accept things that don't work out the way that you want them to. You're gonna have people in your life that aren't saying or doing the things that you want them to. People are gonna disappoint you, let you down, reject you, insult you. But you have to keep an attitude that Christ has, because you're made in His image, and that's what He did. He died for the people that ridiculed Him, the people that turned on Him right at the last minute, the people that you know denied Him, that pointed Him out, the ones that had Him crucified. He died for them. He died for you. He died for us. He died for everyone. And it's really hard to understand that, I think, unless you have kids, the kind of things you would do for them, but that's how God feels about us. That's what God did for us. And I'm thankful now. I remember the things I went through taught me to be thankful, to work hard, to be patient, to not judge, because of the life I had. Those are the positive things that I can carry about where I've been. Is I can come into a room full of people, and I'm not going to judge anyone. I'm not going to, ridicule or condemn anybody, because nobody's better than somebody else, and that's the way God sees you. That's the way He saw me. And I'm thankful for the life I have, and the people in the life I have, and for this church, for everybody here, that we're here because we could all be doing something else. We could all be doing something different, but we're here. And if it's just for this day, this week, if it's just for whatever, to see myself along with everybody else here making a connection, I know that makes Him happy, and that's why we do this. So I just wanted to say thanks for letting me share a little bit.